Good morning. I have just arrived to the factory. I am also very quickly realizing that I might need a different camera for vlogging. You guys are looking basically up my nostril. The plan for today's vlog is to chat about five of my little tips or secrets to natural photos on your wedding day. Like the most natural, candid photos on your wedding day. So I'm gonna quickly make breakfast. I might try and see if I can set this up somewhere to film that. And yes, I will eat my breakfast. Oh my God. Okay, this is not gonna work. I think I might get, and tell me your opinion, but I think I might get myself one of those DJI Pocket Osmo cameras. Thoughts on those? Any opinions? Yes, no, maybe, definitely not. I'll cook brekkie and then I'll take you upstairs and set this up properly and go through my 5 tips, secrets, whatever you want to call them, for the most beautiful natural wedding photos. I probably should have stopped recording for this. We will get better at this, guys. We will improve over time. Oh God, oh God. Okay. I'm gonna eat and then we'll chat. Hey. Brekkie is done. We are in the sun and we are ready for another video. So, honestly, I feel so full and sick. Little side note, before I even got into the world of photography, I mainly worked in like health and fitness. I'm just like obsessed with all things health. Not so much fitness. I go through waves of motivation with fitness and I go through different eras. So I'll either like train by myself, which is what I'm doing currently, and it's generally what I prefer because I feel like my time in the gym is like my time to myself. It's also like for my mental health. Then I'll like go through group fitness, or I'll train for a marathon, which by the way, I've done one and I haven't run once since. But yeah, I've always just been obsessed with anything to do with health. So like anytime I listen to a podcast or whatever, it doesn't have to just be like physical health, like mental health as well. For the last like month or probably a little bit longer, the weekends have been very social, you could say, and full of a lot of coconut mugs and food that doesn't make me feel good. Not sure if you care about any of that, but I find, because I'm watching a lot of YouTubes myself at the moment because I'm wanting to get more into the YouTube game. I'm watching other people's YouTube channels and just like learning what makes me want to keep watching and what makes someone that does vlogs like binge worthy, like what makes you finish that video and then want to go watch another one. I'm finding it's when like they just share so much about their personal life, because then you feel like you know them. So the more I feel like I know someone that I'm watching on YouTube, the more I want to keep watching, because I'm like, oh, I can relate to you. Like, you go for walks on the beach every morning too, so do I. So I feel like we're best friends. I feel like every week, I'm just gonna share a little bit about myself. And I'll soon work out whether that's what you want to see or not, because either people will be watching or they won't. My top 5 tips or secrets for getting the most natural, authentic, candid, whatever word you want to use, photos on your wedding day. I guess I'll start this off by saying that type of photography is what I do. There are so many photographers that are so different in terms of style. And, you know, so you might have the more like editorial photographers, which, mind you, I love an editorial shot here and there when I capture a wedding, but I don't overly pose my couples like they are in a magazine. So I might get a couple of those photos, but like that's not my be all and end all. I feel like my vibe is very candid, authentic, natural, just really true to the couple, like making them look like they didn't even feel like the camera was there. That is what I feel like my style of photography is, and I often get this question, hence why I am answering it for you today as to how to get those photos. My number one tip, and I'm gonna obviously save the best till last. I'm also learning that people on YouTube say, oh yeah, I've got the best tip till last to make you watch till the end. But I've generally tried to save the best tip till last. Okay, my very, very, very first point. Also, side note, I just want to say, again, like I said in my video last week, every time I make a video, I'm making it with the intention to help future clients or just couples and also other photographers. I want this to be valuable for both of you. So couples, if you are planning a wedding and you're thinking about your wedding photos and you want them to be natural, this is how to get those natural photos. And then photographers, if you are currently learning how to achieve these photos for your couple on a wedding day, this is how I do it. Back to tip number one, building the relationship and getting comfortable with your photographer. So this is a responsibility for both of you. I say to my couple in that very first response, let's catch up. Doesn't have to be in person, that is my preference, but let's catch up, and ideally if it's not in person, it's over a Zoom call because you're seeing the person, you're making connection. Okay, put it like this. Let's say you're at a wedding, right, as guests, and you say to one of your friends, hey, can you take a photo of us, right? You're comfortable with that person, correct? So because you're comfortable with them, like you two are looking at each other, you're laughing, like then your friend says something funny, so you're laughing at the friend. Like there's so much going on, that's just because you're all friends and you're all comfortable, that when your friend hands you the phone back, you look through all the photos, and I bet you your favorite photo is the one where you're either laughing at each other or you're laughing at your friend. Because your friend said something funny or something funny happened in that moment and you were all comfortable and you were all relaxed and you just looked like the camera wasn't even there. You were just having a moment to yourselves. That is how your wedding photographer should be making you feel if you want natural, candid, beautiful, authentic photos. So number one is building the relationship, building the connection. So obviously a meeting before you book them, but then the communication leading up to the wedding day is also super important. And again, you're both responsible for that. So like with my couples, I say to them, if there's any inspo you come across, if you see any posts on Instagram and you're like, I love those photos, send them to me. Like, and then we're texting back and forth and we're like, oh my God, I love that photo. Hey, I saw this the other day, like thought of you, like what do you think of this? You're not only building the professional relationship with your client and with your photographer, but you're building a friendship because you want to feel comfortable on the day. So that requires a friendship. So that is my tip number one. Now, tip number two, I personally feel like you will get way better wedding photos if you book an engagement session with your photographer. When you think about like wanting those natural, candid photos, generally speaking, they are also the couples that want the natural, candid, authentic photos are also the couples that when they send me an inquiry, they are saying in that inquiry, we're not really good in front of the camera. We feel really awkward in front of the camera, so we want to be made to feel comfortable. Sound familiar? That when it comes to the wedding day, if you have had an engagement shoot, we've already been through certain poses that both of us have realized you are comfortable with. I send my couples like between 100 to 200 photos from their engagement shoot. And this is a strategic move by me, but I get them to pick their favorite photos, because then I know on the wedding day, they are the poses I'm going to put them in, because they were the photos that they love the most. Then you save yourself so much time with your portraits on the day. You can sort of feel like the start of your portrait session feels a bit awkward and a bit clunky, and you're just trying to like find like your groove and start to feel comfortable, and you slowly start to get into those poses that feel a little bit more natural. Then the portrait session is over and you've only just got comfortable. Like now you've sort of probably got to like that prime point of comfort to when you're gonna start getting the best photos. But if you've already had an engagement session, you kind of like skip that first uncomfortable part because you're like, well, we've done this before. So number 2, book an engagement session. Tip number 3 is during your portraits. So this is, again, both helpful to the couple and the photographer, but I like to focus on movement rather than a pose. So I still use poses because there are times when like the pose feels natural and looks natural and is perfect for that particular spot or that particular moment. But for majority of the portrait session, I am focusing on movement. Getting the couple to walk away from you and the bride looks back, or as they're like walking together, like getting them to move in and out, like bumping each other's hips. That always results in some sort of laughter. Getting the groom to spin her around, pick her up, spin her around again, throw her over your shoulder. If you are wanting those natural, candid moments, the more that you're moving, the less you're thinking about the photo and trying to make the photo look perfect, or make sure there's no double chins and make sure like your hair's perfect. Like the more that you're moving, the more natural it is and the better photos you are going to get. I still use poses, but very minimal and when I feel like they're appropriate. And generally I will use them more towards the end of the portrait session because I know that they're already comfortable. So I'm gonna get a nicer, more natural posed photo because they're already comfy. So by this stage, I'm not getting a pose that is, even when I'm posing them, I still want movement. So towards the end of the session, I'm getting a pose that's like they're looking at each other, but they're still laughing and like they're putting their noses together and he's like giving her kisses on the cheek or like moving her hair out of her face. So it's still movement because I've had them moving from the start. So it looks like a pose in the photo, but the pose looks more natural because they're still moving. Movement is key. That is tip number 3. Okay, tip number 4, I'm getting very hot sitting here. And I'm noticing this bit of shadow going on my head and I'm not wild about it. So tip number 4 is all about the timing. On the day, sunset is a big focus with the portraits. So yes, that will be taken into consideration in terms of when to take you for these photos. But I also mean timing by picking when you are going to feel the most relaxed to leave your guests for these photos. What I mean by this, I feel like some couples can be dragged away too quickly for their photos and they don't feel like they've had that opportunity to say hello to anyone, for anyone to congratulate them. And so then the whole time, while they're getting their photos done, they're not present. They're thinking about the party that they're missing rather than focusing on them too and their photos and just like living in the moment. If you've got this state of FOMO while you're having your portraits done, you are not going to get anywhere near a natural photo, even if you tried. So when I say timing, obviously sunset, but For both the couple and the photographer, you need to communicate about when you want to go for your photos, and also maybe how long you want to be taken away for. Some photographers just assume that you have to do portraits for an hour. So unless you say to them, we don't want portraits for that long, they will probably just take you for as long as they want. Of course, during the portraits, you can be like, all right, we've had enough. But often couples feel rude and they don't want to be the one to be like, can we wrap this up now? Like, we're sick of photos. And you should be, again, going back to that overthinking state of mind that I talked about in the last tip. If you are in the portrait session wondering how long is this going to go for, again, you are not present. You are thinking about what you're missing out on. You have to communicate about the timing with your photographer and vice versa. You have to both be on the same page. And obviously, again, sunset is taken into consideration. So there will be a time frame that your photographer will say, well, I have to take you in this time. Fair. But you do not have to be taken for the whole time. If you only want 20 minutes of photos, let your photographer know that you only want 20 minutes of photos, and then they can look at that sunset window and go, okay, if they only want 20 minutes, this is going to be the prime window. I'm going to take them then. You have to communicate the timing for your photos on the day. Otherwise, the whole time, you're just going to be thinking about the party that you're missing out on. All right, my last tip that I'm going to talk about, and this sort of rolls off the back of my previous tip about communicating timing, and it sounds maybe annoying and a little bit cliche, but be present. Like, we just did that. We're having the best, we are literally right now experiencing one of our most favorite memories forever. If you want the best, most candid, authentic, natural, beautiful portraits, you need to go into that portrait session being present. And photographers, this can also be where you can sort of pull your couple aside before you take any photos. Just sort of grab your couple and just be like, guys, you're married. We have planned this day for over a year. The first half of the day can be a little bit of a blur. Like, you're both so nervous and anxious and there's all these emotions going on. Like, the prep can sometimes be a little bit chaotic. Then you've got the ceremony, which the whole time you're probably both just shitting yourself. And then the ceremony's over and then you're like, it's just this whole washing machine of emotions that have just happened within such a short window that sometimes it's really nice as the photographer to just pull your couple aside before you go take any photos and just let them soak it in for a second. Make sure they've got a drink and just say to them, like, congratulations, like, you're married. And then they sort of, like, they can be like this going into the portrait session, because it's like bang, 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 bang. We've got all these things to do. We've got all these formalities to cover. And then if you just pull them aside for 1 second and just like let them breathe, like, already as soon as like I'm saying that to you, like, my body is like relaxing. You are just going to make them both go, oh. The most heightened of emotions, that part of the day is done. Like, all the emotions are at their peak for the ceremony and before the ceremony. So once the ceremony is done, you both actually can relax, but it's sometimes not until someone says to you, like, guys, now you just get to sit back and enjoy your day, that the shoulders drop, and then we get a little bit more relaxed. We can have a drink without looking around like, what do I have to do next? And then you walk into your portrait session with a totally different energy. And that is how you are going to get those natural, candid, beautiful, authentic photos. So they are my top 5 tips for the most natural wedding photos. Make sure you build not only trust, but a friendship with your photographer. Book an engagement session. Focus on movement and not so much the poses. Make sure you plan your timeline with your photographer and communicate how long you would like to be taken away for your photos, and be present. It is your wedding day. the more that you soak that in and realize that you only get to do this once, the more natural and beautiful and authentic your photos are going to be. I hope that this was helpful, not only to couples, but to photographers as well. If it was, let me know. If it wasn't, let me know. I am working every week to try and come up with content that is going to be valuable for both of you. So if you've got any questions or you've got any topics that you would like me to cover, please leave them in the comments. And I will see you next week.